stage. Welcome to Chitkara Lit Festival. How does it feel to be here?
It feels absolutely great, and thank you so much for having me here today. I see such happy faces, and even my celebrations continue coming from wedding festivities. It was my son's wedding last weekend, and coming straight from...
Yeah, all of our congratulations for that.
Thank you. So coming straight from his wedding to the Literature Festival, the celebrations just continue. So I just had to switch from my personal to my professional mode. So thank you so much for having me here.
Lovely. We are very grateful that you're here.
And before you start, I just want to share my personal feeling that it's so crazy now. Everybody's asking you, and I'm envying this ambience about love. In college, in university, in school. In our times, if one love letter was caught in the school or college premises, there was a commotion in the principal's room. So I envy you, and I don't know, I'm speechless.
It is very liberating, but she's right. You know, all of us, I'm a 90s child also.
Yeah.
And love letters, Baba, I mean, you can't. I mean, they couldn't come home. They would go to some other friend's house. And yeah, I mean, not as liberating as it was today.
Not liberating at all.
So did love create some poetry back in the day for you?
Yes, I started writing poetry when I was very, very young. I was a child, in fact, just around the age of 10 or 11. So I won't say that, not love. It was more, maybe love with my father, yes, because the influence of my father, the impact of my father's work on me is tremendous, is phenomenal. So yes. A kind of love, but love with my father.
Definitely. It's been such a poetry-filled day right since the morning. I mean, we've gone on to poems of love in a very different manner, ma'am. We had a session on Kabir where we talked about spiritual love and divine love. And of course, after listening to Priya, I think all of our heartbeats got stuck into their place and one wished that one just lived that kind of love. But here with ma'am, we are sitting in the presence of someone who has bagged international accolades for the kind of words and verses that have flown from her quill. एक ना हिंदी के कवि थे जिनका नाम था कमलेश्वर, जिन्होंने एक लाइन बोली थी कि कविता हृदय में कंघी करती है, चेस्ट पे नहीं. बट अगर कोई आपके दिल को टिकल करे, उस पर कोई कोम्बिंग करे, वो जो एहसास है, that is the feeling of what poetry can do to all of you, to all of us. And I want to understand from you, ma'am, what does the institution of poetry mean to you? What does writing poetry mean to you?
So poetry started as a passion with me, but now it is meditation to me. Whenever I sit to write poetry, I just close my eyes and the verse starts flowing, as if someone is downloading the verses for me. And I often say that I don't write poetry, I receive poetry. Somebody is doing it for me. So my commitment, my dedication to poetry, and my inspiration, I would like to share all of these through a poem.
Oh, absolutely. You're very welcome. Let's hear.
So poetry is a serious business for me, and I have an office, the Poet's Office. The title of the poem is The Poet's Office. I get up early in the morn, sometimes even before dawn. My office has no fixed hours. I have to travel near and far. And you thought being a poet is easy? To fill the bag of my mind, inspiration I have to find. Some from the mountains, some from the sky. Some from the village belly, some from the shepherd boy. Some from the flowers on the trees. some from the busy honey bees, some from the fresh morning dew, some from the petals new, some from the squirrels and the birds. Every day I visit their world. And then I weave thoughts into words and send them to different worlds, mounting them on the social media chariot. Whole day I run and sweat. And you thought being a poet is easy. For us, I wait for the moon. The sun inspires me in the noon. To get a better view of a star, sometimes I travel very far. I climb peaks to touch the snow. I pray for the rains and the rainbow. I cry to see fish in the net. My office doesn't close even after sunset. My mind travels to foreign lands and sends signals to my hands. And as I collect the thoughts in my cart, the ink flows from my heart. This is how I create a verse. My office is the whole universe.
How beautiful.
And you thought being a poet is easy? Thank you.
Now is the correct time to put your hands together. How wonderful, wonderfully written, ma'am. And I love the imagery that you have put together for us to so lucidly imagine what you were thinking and what you were going through and what you wanted to put out in front of the world.
Yes.
Wonderful. And you did mention that amongst your earliest influences when it came to writing poetry was your father.
Yes.
Right? Could you talk a little bit about that and a verse or two, if okay for you to share?
Yes. I mean, when I talk about my father, it's very nostalgic. It gets a little sad also that today he's not here, because he wanted to see me always as a writer. So, and he identified the talent in me. He motivated me to participate in the creative writing competitions, declamations, debates, and when I used to come back home with prizes, he was very proud of me. So those moments I cherish. And today I feel good, you know, that today I'm here and it's all because of him. And I thank him all the time for the contribution, because he invested a lot of time in his children. You know, he used to guide us, the way he used to sit with us during the evenings and talk about literature. I still remember those evenings. I cherish those moments. So a beautiful relationship it was, and it still is.
Ma'am, your command and hold over the language is so strong that I know it flows into your words and verses very, very beautifully. For those of us who are young and who are trying to build that relationship between what we are thinking and what are the correct words to express that out, can you give some advice, or can you just make us familiar to your creative process?
A very good question, because so many of us, you know, especially the students here, I've seen you're living in such a beautiful university in the lap of nature. And had I been here, I think I would have sat somewhere here and started composing a poem, admiring the beauty of nature. So if you want to learn the craft of poetry, I think it'll be a sacrilege of some sort if I don't begin by taking the name of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore and his poetry. I want to talk about him because you can't find more beautiful poetry anywhere else. And so simple, so pious, so pure, so divine. This is how you create a poem. I'm not talking about the technical side of a poem. I'm not talking about the literary devices used in a poem, because that all you can find on Google. But what I am talking about is the beauty, the aesthetic side of poetry. And I was in love with his poetry, in love with his writings had a great impact on me in growing years. Say when I read his short stories like Kabuliwala or The Homecoming, or Where the Mind is Without Fear, the poem, or Gitanjali. What an impact his writings have, and it subtly builds your character. So his poetry is very important, and each of his poems is a school of poetry in itself. You can learn how you can craft or compose a simple poem in simple language without using any bombastic words. And the core value of a poem is the profundity of thought. It is around that thought that you're building a verse.
Absolutely, what they say about, it's so funny. I go to a lot of schools and colleges and I ask people, okay, what is poetry? And it's an answer that's not very easily forthcoming. It has many poetic answers to it. But think about it. The first piece of literature all of us learn is a poem. Ab wo chanda mama dur ke hain, ya Johnny Johnny yes papa hai. But the first piece of literature you remember, you learn, you reproduce, that is poetry. It is so native to us. And I loved it when ma'am said that poems come to you.
Yeah.
They are received by you. As us, as poets, I also write a little.
Yeah, I know that.
We are merely vessels through which all of this poetry flows and the profundity of thoughts.
Yeah.
So the common minimum denominator to that question, what is poetry, is that it is a concise form of expression where the sum total of the words is always greater than what individually they meant to be. So coming back to you receiving poems from wherever, if there is a divine intervention or there is a natural intervention, but what are those moments in which you think that you are highly inspired to make your pen work, to make your quill work, to make your mind work, and find a subject on which you want to express?
So sometimes I find a subject, sometimes others find a subject for me, because when I'm called on forums like, where I have to speak about women empowerment or child infanticide, or maybe what we are doing to nature today, those kind of poems. I know the theme is really given to me, and I just have to pen my verses according to the themes. So when I say that, I want to say that words have a power to heal. Words have a power to change. And words have a power to make or mar your life. And you've clearly seen the examples of this in the recent past. I hope you understand what I'm hinting at. So you have to be very careful with your words, the way you use it. You can make them powerful. You can convey very meaningful messages, but they can ruin you also. So you have to be very careful about your words. Words can bring about societal changes. Words can bring about revolutions. You've heard, pen is mightier than the sword. So here, now, I would like to share with you a poem that I had written on the similar thought. I call this Poetry with Purpose. And this poem has been included in Vibrant Voices, which is a book, an anthology of poetry by the contemporary Indian women writers, published by the Sahitya Academy, and my poems are included in this anthology.
That's so lovely, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So this poem is, in this poem I raise my voice against the injustices against women. And I think this is the forum, this is the platform that I really want to share such poems, because it's the responsibility of all of you, of the youth, to steer the world in the right direction. So this poem is especially for you, and I'm going to share it with you now. Save the Cinderellas. Whenever I want to unwind, I close my eyes and a small door opens in my mind. I enter into the land of dreams, of elves, pixies, and fairy queens. I see Rapunzel's long, beautiful hair. Goldilocks is sitting with the three bears. Snow White is looking like a doll. The same mirror is hanging on the wall. Cinderella is getting married to the prince. The Sleeping Beauty is all innocence. Nothing has changed in the fairy world. The animals can be trusted, and so can be the birds. The animals, like the humans, can speak. The birds also have talking beaks. I feel so secure in that alien world. The skies are also multicolored. In a huge palace, I'm treated to a feast by none other than the Beauty and the Beast. Every story ends with celebrations and laughter on a note that they lived happily ever after. Why doesn't it happen in our world too? Why do Cinderellas here lose more than just a shoe? Why are the Rapunzels pulled by their hair? Why can the Goldilocks no longer trust the bears? Why does the Beast never transform into a Prince Handsome? Why are the Sleeping Beauties made captives for a ransom? Why do the evil fairies never get punished? Why do the wrongdoers never get banished? Why is there no loyalty or fidelity? Why there is cruelty? Why there are tales of crime? And this is the reason why I escape every day into the fairy world for some time. Thank you.
How very beautiful. Please put your hands together, because all questions asked from the perspective of someone who's able to witness all of this. But the good stories, the good morals that were put inside our system through these very comforting stories are being torn apart in the society. And it is a poet's, it is an artist, it is a writer's job to ask all such questions. Ma'am, may I request you to recite one more piece of poem, since we are getting into that zone and mood.
All right, so this poem is even more relevant to the prevailing times. I've always, some way the poet in me laments the fact that, like Priya just read stories about the 90s. We have lived those times. I've lived 80s also. I've lived 70s also. So we are some way, we're getting lost somewhere. Why I'm saying is, it's a responsibility of me as a writer to bring this forth, because I feel that we are marching very fast, but we have left our values behind. We should be carrying our values with us. So we are living in a gadget world, but I see there's no human touch. In a house where two people are living, there are 60 gadgets in that house. So isn't that sad? Are we humans? And this is what I lament, and this is what I'm going to share in my next poem, An Electronic Zoo. That is what I call this world today.
It's a very interesting title.
Yes. So this poem is, I think everyone will be able to relate with this poem. In the present day and times, this is an electronic zoo. In the present day and times, we don't care for the thoughts sublime. Surrounded by machines, we have become mechanical too. Artificial intelligence is the order of the world new. We are connected, but there's no connect. We can safely commit mistakes when we have the autocorrect. Relationships are fragile. What a pity. We even have to lock our profiles. Oh, how much I wish to travel back in time, when we would not even lock our house, as there was more trust and less of crime. When there were no Google Maps or navigation, it was fun to stop on the way and ask others about our destination. When excitedly we ran out to receive a letter, with lesser amenities, life was much better. And today, when I see everyone with gadgets, very tech savvy too, I miss the human connect in this electronic zoo. Thank you.
How wonderful, how lovely, and extremely relevant for sure for the times that we are living in. Do we have any audience questions? We can perhaps take one, if at all. Otherwise, I have one concluding question to ask. Okay. So, as someone who, you know how poets work, they write for themselves, you know, something hits them and they write it. And then they get awards, and then they get published, and then they get adulation. Does that change the poet in you? How does it feel when you're so well recognized, but at the same point of time, do we shift?
I don't know about others, but I'm just the same. And I always feel, even if I have to, give an answer to this question, I feel success does not most of the time change you. It changes the people look at you. It changes the people around you, and it doesn't change you much. I don't know if it changes people, but for me, it's not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Please put your hands together for Harinder Chima.
Thank you so much.